to have work-life balance, it's all about scheduling and prioritize what needs to be done. Because as a entrepreneur or a business owner, you wear many hats, right? You have to do the accounting. And if you have staff, you have payroll. And then you have like, what campaign am I going to do? And then you have photo shoot, and then you have ordering and retouching. I don't do retouching anymore. I have my assistant doing that. I am the one that's creating the schedule and not the other way around, so that my business doesn't take over my life.
Hello and welcome to the Studio Takeover podcast. I'm your host, Kat Ford Coates. And today I am joined by Paula Liu. She is a portrait photographer based out of Houston, Texas with Paula and Liu Photography. Paula, welcome.
Hi, Kat. Thank you for having me.
We were talking on Instagram and I was like, this would be good because she's had like some really significant growth over the last few years. And you and I met through the Portrait Masters community at Graffi Castle in Italy. And I know you've been, part of the portrait system ecosphere for some time now. Could you share a little bit about your growth in that space and, what that looks like having a mentor and, really kind of focusing on those fundamentals to create a business that you're really proud to own?
Yeah. So I started photography in 2016 and this is when I first found you. I was a piano teacher and my husband saw that I was like missing my creative outlet, and he thought if he would give me a camera, and he saw that I was taking great picture composition wise with my iPhone, and he was like, what if I give you a real camera and what would you do with it? And I actually fought with him. And I didn't want to learn like aperture, shutter and all this thing about it. But after like one day, like just having that camera for the first time and start photographing our friends at like their birthday party downtown Houston, I fell in love with it. And I exchanged the Pentatonix exchangeable camera that I think is a toy now. I went pro instantly. And then from there, I was obsessed with everything about camera, lighting, and posing. And then I kind of followed through the journey and learned like the system and how to run a business. I mean, I was already doing a private piano lesson, so I sort of understand the entrepreneur side, but really, I felt like after I found Sue, I kind of found my calling, because with like my background in music and production and theater and all of that, I finally felt like this is where I belong. I get to play dress up. I get to do my makeover. I get to do the fashion, and I get to help people, and I can do one-on-one, or I can do a group of people. And so it was just like, it was great. So going from just a piano teacher and then to photography was a whole nother experience. And I always was very busy savvy. So I felt like now I can be a business owner and be creative artist.
Yes.
And not have to be a starving artist, like what in our Asian community would say, like, you have to be a lawyer or a doctor or anything like that. I have been able to prove, like, I can still make, good amount of money with my camera.
Absolutely. It's interesting to me to always see how, what we connect with in this portrait space. Sue Bryce has been absolutely instrumental in reviving the contemporary portrait genre. It's not just headshots. It's not weddings and events. It's actually this like really intimate space to be creative and incorporate, those elements like with or without the makeover or the fashion component, and that creativity and, understanding that camera work is absolutely key. So thanks and cheers to your husband. He also gifted you some Dior stuff for Christmas, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He did. So he was like, your new self needs a new like changing out the wallet. It has a
Mhm.
significant symbol of where you want to go and where you want to be. And I've been doing a lot of journaling and I write everything down, especially even when I'm talking to client. But I also a big, huge fan of Denise Thomas
Mhm.
and, mindset and her sacred money archetype stuff. So he's like, okay, well, let's upgrade your binder as well. And, just something a little bit more luxury and a little bit of more like you. And so we've been working a lot. Even my assistant today, we actually were clearing out everything in my closet, my personal closet and my studio closet. Just like what is in line with where we are wanting P&L to be
Ah,
at. And, like because like right now we have very clear of who is our ideal client, who do we want and how do we want to photograph them. And so it makes it a lot easier to know what dress I'm going to have in my closet and which one is not like speaking. And then just personally for me, like now I'm going to a lot more networking of it. Like how do I want to be perceived as? Because I'm very petite. I'm like 4'10", and so naturally people think I'm looking really young. And so sometimes people are like, and when I'm serving like 50 and 60, they're like, you're really young. Like, do you understand how to do a mature person? But then they look at my website, they're like, oh yeah, you totally know how to handle us.
oh yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. So there's no doubt anymore, but I also want to dress the part,
Sure.
dress where you want to be and, visualize who you want to be so that you can get there. And not like the person that I was before. And we had a lot of moments that today were like, that was you when you were doing piano and voice lesson, but I don't think that is the P&L now. Just because it still fits and it still looks good on you doesn't mean necessarily like that is for you.
Well, that's not who you're embodying now, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of people, come after me about being woo woo, and I am woo woo AF. But manifestation and designing your life is about embodying the version of you that knows how to execute at that level. And
Mm-hmm.
so being able to show up, and if Dior or Louis Vuitton or Gucci or any of it makes you feel empowered in that space, that high level of quality, then by all means, like make it happen. And so that's really terrific that, he's in alignment with where you're headed. And is championing you like that. Not everybody has, a partner that is as supportive in such a meaningful way. That's really terrific.
I'm really lucky to have a very supportive husband. I mean, he built all my sets for me and he painted my backdrops for me. Like all of the pictures you see from my painted backdrop, because he's also an abstract artist. So like painting canvas is like his thing and he do really big pieces anyway. So I get like one of a kind, like, so it's whatever I need. And he's also an author and a writer. So a lot of my copyright, it's like really done by him. But it's been a good change because we've just actually been shifting to now that actually that we are working together to build P&L to where we want to be. And so he's now working with me pretty much full time in that aspect. So we're now like a partner and also in the business and help me grow. And at the same, because he sees so much potential on where I can be at. And I mean, so I would say like photography really, it's all his doing. He's like, I created a monster. He's like, I created a monster. I was just thinking, giving you a hobby. I didn't know you like gonna take it and do all this great thing with it. But he says that I really come alive on it. And it just I can feel all my creativity and at the same time like my ambition and my driven of as like wanting to be successful and be a business owner and be a minority that can show other minority that they don't have to just be a doctor or a lawyer. Because I was supposed to be pre-law. I was supposed to be a lawyer. And then I went to law. I tried to do a whole law school thing. And I was like, nah, not for me. So, yeah. So, I mean, I have a very supportive husband and helping me to grow. And I think that's how I can significantly grow. I did the number recently for January, but And I said we were kind of talking numbers, but I mean, it just went from, having just doing a few couple people in 2016, because I was very part-time. And then I think like 2019 was when I actually okay, I was getting a little bit more serious with it, but still like I was only doing like 20 to 30K in photography wise, because I was very part-time with it. And then, so when I was literally about to take it to a next level and cut back on my teaching and do more photography wise, COVID happened. And so, so then we got shut down and I didn't do any photo shoot that year of COVID because I have a liver disease. So even at that time, I was debating if I was wanting to continue or not. And then the portrait shootout happened after we were that able October, to happen. Yeah. And so after that portrait shootout, I actually found my love again because it was like all business and I was like, I don't know, like my whole thing was just being creative and I didn't feel that. And I was doubting if I wanted to continue photography, even after COVID. But after I did the shootout, I came back with a full new portfolio and like I found my joy again for it. Yeah. And then I launched my first 40 over 40 campaign for 2022. And literally in 48 hours, we were booked out 40 spots. And
it's interesting that, you talk about, you get kind of your blinders up, right? And you're like, okay, I'm building this business. I'm going to leave this other career. So I need to make it sustainable. And we think that we can just sort of hop onto a business model and put it in place, lickety split. And then, life happens, right? Life be lifing. And we forget that while we're so involved in making sure the pieces are in place, that sales process is in place, the back end workflow is in place, like all of these things, it actually takes a lot of our mental bandwidth to install and integrate these things into our way of being. It can be really tough to return to the creative piece. Like you were saying, like, well, I really wasn't in love with it anymore. And it was just all systems and like, wasn't sure if I wanted to keep going. But then you attend an event like the shootout, right? A conference. And that specific event was much smaller. I think there was capacity of like 121 people or something. But all of a sudden, that opportunity gave you the path to, here is a saleable portfolio. Here are multiple demographics that you can use. And you turned right around and put it out into the world like, let's do this. And you filled 40 spots in less than 2 days.
I did. I mean, it took some launching time, and I also was networking with one of the fashion designers here in Houston, Chloe Dow. And I've been like a huge fan of her and I shop at her store for some time. And we were at a charity event that she was at, and I was telling her about it. Like, I was like, I've been wanting to do this. I wanted to be photographing women over 40, especially watching the moms that, from my piano students, how busy they are and how they're taking the kids from one place to the other. And all I want to do is like, I just want you to sit in this chair and let me help you see how beautiful you are and take a breath. And then like play dress up with me and just remember and just kind of bring it back to you and have that moment for you. So that's how I was like, I'm doing this 40 over 40. And I told her, I wasn't pitching to her. I was just like, I'm doing this. Like, and then she's like, I will style them. She was like, can I be a part of this? So, and so she literally styled 40 women in her design and their dresses and everything. And then we were both didn't know how we're going to make this happen because it's like 40 different schedule. Is it going to be like all in one day or is it like different session? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. And we went with it. And it was amazing. We had a whole magazine. And so they really felt and have the experience of being a model for a day. Literally, like getting to dress up in a fashion designer dress. And one of the lady had offer her house. She had this gorgeous glam house. So it's like her house was very amazing. And she was like, yeah, you can do all 40 photo shoot here. It doesn't have to be on the same day. So, I mean, I had everything lined up for me. It was just like, it was meant to be like, because I was saying, if I go to the shootout and I give this a little bit more chance, and if it doesn't work, if I still feel like it's too much, then I'll just stick to like, teaching. And because I was fine, I was successfully in my piano teaching, and I have a long waiting list to become my students, and and I enjoy teaching them. But I felt like something was missing, in like what I wanted to do. Like I can teach them and grow them, but then I didn't feel like I had any growth. I didn't see myself in like 10 years wanting to be at the same point. But after that, like after the 40 over 40, I was like, this is it. Like, I love this. This is what I want to do. And so this year and last fall, December was my last time. And I told them, and they were not surprised, but they were a little sad because they were thinking that I would give them another till like end of May. But I was like, it's time that I do it for me.
Because that can be really challenging to know whether or not you're making the right choice when you're transitioning fully out of one career into entrepreneurship. Like you have proof of concept, right? Like you have a campaign wildly successful and you're like, okay, I can do this. So the confidence is there. But when people lack the confidence, it's like, how do I know? How do I know? How do I know? And it's like, you take action for what you want. You know what? I'm going to go to this shootout just to see if I can, reignite that spark. And then 48 hours later, you're like, and we're back, ladies and gentlemen, let's go, that's really pretty terrific. So now that you're moving into full-time into this studio, this is my jam. My husband is working with me. Like we are going to make, this year amazing. And what is it that you are wanting to create in your business?
Right now, we currently use our home and as a studio space, and it's great because there's only two of us. We don't have any kids. We just have dogs and cats. We have two dogs and one cat. But we have 4 bedrooms. So I mean, like this right now, this is my studio closet where the ladies could change in. It's also a changing room. But we would like to get into a different space. I would like to purchase either a commercial space or a home, another home, and just turn it into my studio space of having sets. Because what I loved about what we were doing on the last 40 over 40 was having my friend, and who was also one of the lady as a client who's doing her photo shoot at her house, is that every room was different. And I was like, what if I create that as like different sets? So if we want light and airy, we have this one set. And then we have, if we want dark and moody, we could have this set. Because right now, like my studio space is kind of small and doesn't have quite the height, ceiling height that I would like to have. And so I do a lot more like fashion and editorial. And so that height is kind of important with the lighting. We're just now kind of outgrown this space. Sure. And so we want to be able to have more. And then if we have like multiple shoot in one day, we can, have one in the morning and then take a break for lunch and then do another one in the afternoon.
I love that. Well, and that's the evolution, right? You can start to see it expand and unfold. And okay, how do I maximize this? What would you say has been the biggest challenge for you? You had to find a solution, or that was that?
It's multiple things, right? It's a work-life balance. And to have work-life balance, it's all about like scheduling and prioritize what needs to be done. Because as a entrepreneur or a business owner, you wear many hats. Right? You have to do the accounting. And if you have staff, you have payroll. And then you have like, what campaign am I going to do? And then you have photo shoot, and then you have ordering and retouching. I don't do retouching anymore. I have my assistant doing that so that my business doesn't take over my life. Because it doesn't consume my time. Like I would still have time with my husband, and I would still have, or else I sometimes felt like before, and this is where I was like, wondering if I still want to do this, because with piano, I just go to teach their lesson. And then when I get home, I'm done. I don't have to touch
You
the
can
computer.
clock out.
I don't, I can clock in and clock out. Like there's a certain time and I have way more time like in the morning to do whatever I need to do. But as a photographer and a business owner, you know, like in the morning, I'm having like to, okay, follow up or see where the status of this order or so it's just really have creating a system that works for my schedule and that I am the one that's creating the schedule and not the other way around and not like feel like when my clients call, I have to be answering. So I have set time that this is when I would answer a phone call for Lee or when I'm going to do follow up. So I have a calendar of like kind of like chunk because really to do both before I have to be really like good with scheduling in order to run both anyways. But now that I have even just photography, I felt like I'm even more busy, but having like a clear calendar, like certain days, like I would say go dark is when I kind of like in my own mind and finishing tasks that maybe doing like marketing guy, like, you know, bulletin guys, for my client or planning what would I dream of my next shoot to be, or just like having moment to myself to journal and to meditate and to manifest.
No, I love that. Time management is probably the biggest piece of the puzzle in my world. Like, especially with all of the travel and the speaking and all of the things. Like I joke, my dad used to be like, God, you're tied to your calendar. And I'm like, no, my calendar and I, we're in a very intimate relationship. You know, it's the biggest, probably the strongest tool I have to support that I maintain the priorities that I set for my life. And that includes my business. And I love that you spoke about that because you're coming from a space, right? Of, okay, this was a fun hobby and I made it a business and then I wasn't sure anymore. And then I reignited and now I'm transitioning. Like you have to be able to not only manage your time, but then prioritize and determine where your energy is best spent. And that really is in the creation of art and or revenue. Right. So anything that can be outsourced to that, you outsource. And for those of you who are like, I could never give up my editing, you know who you are.
Yes, you can.
You yes, absolutely
you can. Absolutely can.
There is zero reason why you can't outsource your editing. Because here's the thing, your retoucher isn't going to be doing the artistic edits. They are extending backdrops, healing skin, taking away flyaways, you know, the minutia that takes the majority of the retouching time. Now, Paula, I don't know about you, but for me, when I get that back, I still have to review. I still color grade. I do any compositing that may need to be done. Like if I'm doing big fabric on it, I might be adding additional pieces. But the end result is always finished by me. But if you think I'm going to remove one more clip,
I'm actually the same way. I am, so I have them do the basic retouch first. And then at the, after I get it back, I still have the last go at it and see if we miss anything. Cause I had a conversation with a client of how they wanted to be retouched. So I know that, you know, what the ending image needs to be at. But I don't need to be the one that's like softening the skin or taking out blemishes. Like that doesn't require my expertise or my eyes for, you know, like that's not worth my time of doing. It's like a foundation of building a house, right? If your house is built on a solid foundation, doesn't matter how you want to decorate it, it will still work as if you have a solid foundation. And I
don't have to be the one that paints the wall. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to be the one that build the wall, or I can design out what it looks like, but I don't need to be the one that like build it and paint it. You know, I can put what picture I want on there, you know, and how I would want to decorate it. But yeah, definitely.
Okay, so your primary goal this year is to find and purchase a property to create a commercial studio outside of your home. What feels really exciting to you beyond that? Like, how are you mentioned earlier, you're doing a lot of networking and connecting in the community. to the point where like you teamed up with a designer and created this amazing experience for 40 women. Like, will you be doing a season 2 of that campaign, or are you evolving into, another focus? What does that look like?
So we are actually on season 2, and I'm about to wrap up season 2 on there. And the season 2, we actually don't have the designer, but we're focusing more on the individual ladies and what their story and what they want to be drive. So it's kind of like based off of the Barbie theme. Like, which Barbie are you? Are you boss babe, or you are,
Okay.
are you like
are you the president?
Or president? Or yeah. So it's about telling that. And this year I wanted to do the champagne party like more of an art gallery. So to display their images as a piece of art. So that's where we're at with season 2 on there. But I may take a pause on it afterward just to give me a break. And because I do get bored easily. So I already like into the next thing. I did find a castle here in Texas that I may do something with it, like what I had great experience in Italy and photographing in a castle. And so I wanted to create something like that here, but not necessarily have to take them to Italy. So I found a castle that's an hour away. And this is a little bit of like a sneak peek because I haven't told anybody this yet. And I'm thinking about in September to do this for like a handful, like 2 days kind of event for like 10 ladies to go offsite with me to this castle and photograph with like flowing dresses and be in that environment for those 2 days and see what we're going to create with that. But if like, because it's September is when I feel like the parents are getting back, the moms getting back to me, getting back to you.
Yep.
Is basically because the kids are now back in school and they kind of finally breathe again. So I was thinking kind of something like getting back to you and doing something like that. That's a little bit different and a little bit epic. I love photographing people at different spaces. We've done like different people's houses and I always like to find new things. Like it's a challenge for me. So it's, I'm really good on my feet. And, when there's like new opportunity like that, it always helps me to stay creative and not like get into like the everyday. Cause I don't typically like to photograph everybody the same way. Like I'm not like, I can't be like a cookie cutter. Like you have 1, 2, 3 set. I'm just like, who are you? What do you want to do? Okay. Or sometimes it's whatever is attractive to me. So, I mean, my goal is to get the studio space, but also to double in how many clients we photograph and revenue wise. Cause again, like both my husband and I are now into this and I don't have my piano lesson income anymore. So like we have to, double our revenue in order for us to be sustainable and profitable. Yeah. So, I mean, it's growing, our business and doubling it, because I should have time now to double it. I didn't have time before, but my mindset is like, okay, well, if I did that this last year, then I should be able to do it this year. So I did 60 session last year. My aim is not quite to get to 120, more like 80.
Okay.
Yeah, but
you could add 20 more people and double your revenue. Absolutely. And I like that you're looking at it from the space of sustainability, right? Like there isn't any more like side hustle income coming. So it's how can you really generate, but still like your primary priority was like, I get to be creative in this space, right? And so you're exploring ways that you can expand on that creativity, whether that is in designing, mapping out the design of a home to really double as a studio outside of your primary residence. You're looking at a castle, right? to host an event for these ladies. Like that could very easily turn into a retreat that you host for 3 days and you photograph these ladies over the course of the 3 days and, really create an amazing experience that's super creative and a lot of fun and once in a lifetime piece for them. That if that's not creativity explored, I don't know what is.
Yeah. And because I love events and I love putting on events. I used to do a lot of event planning for my church and everything else. So like naturally, like I love that. And people love it. Like our last champagne party, people had a great time. We did the red carpet and actually did at someone's house, and we turned her house and she's like, I've had so many parties here, but never like this. You gave me so many ideas. So we kind of did it like a Hollywood premiere with a red carpet and have them take some pictures in front of like, just like if you were at a premiere. And my husband actually, it was only ladies, but he was the DJ. He picked up another thing on there that he was like, I want to be the DJ of this. And I'm like, what? Okay. So kind of like Cara Maria, when she was like, well, I am really good and very successful at what I do, that my husband can be a DJ. I'm like, yeah, my husband is actually the DJ for that event. So yeah, so I think it would be great. It's great for both of us as artists, and that we can do this and have the space and the clients who appreciate what we do and be a huge supporter of us.
What would you say, and this is kind of coming out of left field, what is your favorite moment with your client?
My favorite moments with my clients has to be at the end when they tell me, like, I had a testimonial recently that I posted yesterday of this. She's an author, a headshot author, and who was more curvy, and she wasn't wanting to do photograph like any professional picture. She was just going to do selfie because she was very self-cautious about her body and how she would look in a photo. And afterwards, she told us that, we really gave her the care and the nurture and made her like feel beautiful. And she knows she looks beautiful. Like, she loves the picture and she loved the whole experience. And now she has so much confidence in it. And the clothing that I style her in for her photo shoot were all her clothes, but just what she wouldn't necessarily do anyway. Right. And I love that because I really love styling people, and that's kind of like my superpower. And then I also help them set up for whatever their business, whether they're an author and needing to do like speaking engagement, or they're doing a dating thing. I've helped a client who I went shopping with them and to pick out their outfit for their photo shoot, but then they also could wear it to different function. And so this author, she was like, now I have 5 great pieces that was already in my closet. And I know exactly where I can wear these things to because you show me, and I know how great I look in them. And my picture matches who I am and showcase me, and that people haven't done. And I had another author that was telling me nobody has ever photographed her in a way that showcased who she is. And now after I did it, that when she look at it, when people look at her, the back cover author picture, they're like, that's totally you. You're totally badass. And that's it. Because on the other picture, they had her with flower and she's like a Taekwondo black belt, and it didn't match the personality on there. So I think my biggest joy is to see that and to see okay, who are you, and telling their story, but just elevate them with my portrait. And so that's what I say I do. It's I take picture that tells your story in an elevated way.
Now, if we take clients out of the equation, what would you say is the best part about being a CEO, of being a business owner?
No, I think the best part of being a CEO is because actually naturally running a business. I mean, sometimes the system, it's not, but I feel when I can see goals that I can achieve, and I see the growth that I've learned from just since 2021, and in the last 2 or 3 years, I've just have grown so much in personality and confidence. And I know exactly what I want. And usually my husband say, you're very fickle, you don't know what to choose. And we have a rule that if I can't pick something, then he would make the final decision. But he finds that now more and more, because I'm in a CEO role, all you do is make decisions. right?
Mhm.
And he's like, I don't even know how you're doing, because like that's like was one of the things that you had. But I feel like because I'm doing what I like and I'm doing what it's like I feel strong and passionate about, that
Mhm.
it's very clear to me which one I like and what I don't like. There's no doubt to me, and my decision making has been a lot faster. And I'm like, this align with me, this is not align with me. Let's go. Let's turn. This is going to be out. This is going to be coming in. And I think that that does help into with all of my background and wanting to go to law school and negotiating and helping my parents running their business when I was 9. And so like this is it's actually I'm finding myself more than when. So I felt like doing piano and voice lesson is for some reason like my voice wasn't heard anymore.
Mm.
Like it was shut off, because now I'm only trying to help them showcase who they are. Instead, now being in a CEO and doing a photography, like I see myself come out more. I naturally like going back to like what clothes I would naturally wear, instead of thinking about like how would I look to my clients or my students, or like I have to dress a certain way or I have to do this. And now I'm just like, no, this is me. Like I wear this, like this is who I am. A little bit edgy, a little bit, and a little classy, but and a little bit funky on there. So I think that the best part for me of being the CEO is I actually finding myself.
Oh, I love that. Oh, oh, yes, please. Yes, please. Because here's the thing. I find that the people who find the most success are the ones who can be decisive. And in a CEO position, like that is crucial, right? And you have to be able to make a decision on a dime. But when it's tied to something that you love and that you've nurtured and that you've created and you're caring for, that is scaling, that is growing, right? You know what it is that you want for that thing to do. And when you're in survival, right? And I'm talking to everybody who was ever in my position where it was like, somebody's just got to pay me. I don't really care what it's about or who it's for, but I need to generate cash. But when you're in survival, you can't be decisive. You can't take advantage of opportunity because you don't have the resources available to you to expand on that creativity. In fact, you will find it very difficult to even be creative. When you're in a CEO position, when you're running a business that is outside of yourself, right? That is a separate entity from who you are. It requires that you make decisions. And they're not always decisions based solely on profit margin, right? It's not like, well, we would lose $10,000 if we did this, or we would gain $10,000 if we did that. But based on the alignment and the values that you've created with that business and the mission and purpose of that business. So that the students that I find are most successful in this space are the ones who can be decisive quickly, because it's not really about like, I don't know where I want to eat. Like, I don't really care. It's not important to me. But because it's not important to you is why you can't make the decision. When it is important to you, you know exactly where you're headed because you do care. You seeing that in yourself and then realizing that the more decisive you can be is purely based on knowing who you are in a more fundamental, wholehearted way. And that is what will propel you forward. Always, always, always. So Paula, that's pretty damn terrific.
Thank you. I really been enjoying this journey, and I'm excited to see where it takes. I think that like now that all of the BS and excuses are now, because I used to have excuses. Oh, I just didn't have time because I have piano lesson. And I have like, I have this, or I'm too tired for that and stuff like that. There's no more excuses. I can't make that excuses anymore. And right now, like we're betting everything on it. And yes, and if you are in a mindset of like, I need more client, or then you're gonna not attract like what Sue would say, like you will smell stinky. Sure, there's like weeks and months that I'm like, oh, if I was teaching, I know exactly how much I would have for this month, and I'm not waiting for the next client to do. But I think it gets me a little bit of a push, because now that I know that's not coming, okay, what do I need to do? Who do I need to network with? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to connect to? Like, how can I make more friends? Like, I was hiding myself and not shining. And as what, like, because as a celebrity, I thought I was a nurturer. I was a nurturer, ruler, and first, but like my celebrity side was been so passed away for so long because I've been teaching for 15 years. So like as as somebody who's supposed to stand out and like who are naturally love the spotlight was being dim. And so like now you start to see me more often on camera and on Facebook Live and stuff like that. It's because I'm just becoming me. Like people naturally like me when they see and they're like, oh, like, and that's just my personality. I'm like, I don't know why they like me, but but now I just kind of know that it's what I need to share to the people, to the ladies and to my audience, what is valuable to them. And they're going through the same thing as I am. Some of my clients are just like me and they're perfection and a little bit of every way. And when I hear them saying the same thing that we write or like what I've been saying, I'm like, see, I'm getting back everything I'm saying. So if I focus on who am I trying to serve, I'm not trying to serve everybody. I'm not trying to, be the photographer for everyone. And people have asked me before, why don't you do weddings or why don't you do events? Like you make a lot of money out of that. And I'm like, no, I like from day one, I knew I only did one event. And that was because my friend was having like their revow thing. And I was new to photography and I said yes to it. Just to see if I even like it. And so I thought that was a good way to get in there. But yeah. And after that, I was like, no, I will gladly do your couple portrait for you, but I'm not doing this again.
Yes. No, I photographed a newborn one time. Yeah.
Yeah. I did that for just my assistant. I did her baby newborn and I was like, I'm only doing that because it's you, but otherwise I am not doing anyone else. And my bridesmaid, she had a daughter and I did. So I did 2 newborn sessions and that was it. And I don't really care, but that's the thing. Like I know who I want to serve. Because even though I'm going to be 39 in April, but my experience and what I've been through since I was a child have made my maturity level and my knowledge like if I was in my 50s.
Well, you know who your clients are, you know who you want to attract, and you stay focused in that space because it's not about getting in front of as many people as possible. It's getting in front of the people you want to serve as often as possible. Right. And I think that's really where people kind of miss the mark. They're like, I just got to get in front of 50 people. Like, I don't care who they are, where they're at. Like, no, you care. I would much rather be in a room of 10 people who are my ideal client than 300 people who aren't. Plain and simple. So Paula, where can people find you online?
So on Instagram, I'm Paula N as in Nancy, and then Lou, Luu. And then that's also for my website, paulanlu.com.
Gotcha. Well, and guys, you can also check out her links in the description below. Paula, thank you so much for being here with me today on the Studio Takeover podcast. I always love connecting with portrait photographers and seeing how they're growing. And, we met in Italy at the castle. And I remember we were in the restroom and I walked out and you were in a ball gown. And I was like, right?
Yeah, I was in a full dress.
But it was, it's that when you meet people in situations like that, like I've been kind of keeping an eye on you and kind of watching how you've moved just since then, right? In the space and in your marketing. And I love seeing like your confidence grow, not just the confidence that, you're empowering these women with, but the confidence you have and how you're showing up has been really like just progressively every single time better and better. And I love everything that you're doing and have going on. So if I can ever support you in that, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to. And I can't wait to see news of a studio opening in 2024.
I will send you an invite.
Absolutely. I would love to. I would love that. That's awesome. All right, guys, have a wonderful week, and we will see you next week on the Studio Takeover podcast.